we are in such a high stress industry. We are getting hounded by clients, architects, trades. We're babysitters to tradesmen sometimes. So having that outlet of being able to go and have an ice bath or a sauna calms you down. And I've been known to jump in the ice bath at 4:30, 5 o'clock before I'm going home to my family, just to take the edge off.
What is success to you?
I think it was a learn to love it experience.
And there's always pitfalls that you can fall in, but then you've got no one else to blame but yourself.
Number one thing if you're struggling is to catch up with people about it.
Hey guys, before we kick off, I just wanted to take a quick second to say thanks to our content partners, Abodo. You probably know Abodo from their feature timbers like cladding, decking, screening, and all those beautiful timbers that make our projects look amazing. Now, on top of all that, Abodo timber is actually grown and manufactured right here in New Zealand, and it's actually verified carbon negative. Now, what the heck is carbon negative? I'm going to be honest with you, I had to Google that. Carbon negative means Abodo actually takes more carbon out of the air than it puts in. That's got to be good, right? For the environment at least. Cheers, Abodo. You guys are actually legends. Now, let's kick off this episode. Dale Cheesman, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I've been watching you from a distance. It's actually real funny. I was just thinking about it now because I was seeing your branding on your shirt there.
Yeah.
And I love your branding. You've had that for a while now.
Yeah.
And when I was involved in a construction business called Harper Projects, remember I put like a mood board together for my branding girl that was like putting it all together. And the Melbourne Builder, your branding was on there as well. Like I like the simplicity. I like that it looks very premium. And so.
Oh, to hear that, it's great. Like to hear that someone else is, because we had the mood boards as well. So to hear that I was on someone else's mood board it's quite humbling, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. So tell me a little bit about you. So you've been a Melbourne boy. Did you grow up in Melbourne?
Yep, always been in Melbourne. I grew up in southeastern suburbs. I kind of was a kid that didn't have a dream to be a builder or anything like that. My dad's a trades person. He's a panel beater. So I was kind of in and around that trade background. Left school I finished school and then I went and did my carpentry apprenticeship.
Right. And who were you in high school, or how would your friends describe Dale in high school?
I think I'm calculated. I think I'm quite, I'm very not serious, but I'm not a silly guy or anything like that. I'm quite serious when it comes to things. So probably more football. I was always one step ahead of where that ball was going to go. So I think I would, that was me.
And what position did you play?
I'm like a centre half forward, centre half back. Yeah, cool. Either a bit taller back. I was always a bit too short to be that real key kind of position player, but 6'1".
Yeah. You're not that short. I'm quite short, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So you like sport.
Yep.
Did any of that sort of translate into business now, do you think?
Oh, definitely. 100%. Like my football, played for many years, 15 plus years. The leadership you learn in football, the teamwork aspect, just making a bunch of males get on the same page and try and achieve the ultimate goal, and that's being successful. So definitely transferred that into business and breaking, it's not like, it's really hard to try and celebrate the little wins along the way. So breaking jobs up into quarters and things like that, I feel like I really, really do. It does play a big role.
Yeah, because you even I'm just thinking even just morale and the vibe of the team, you can kind of sense if things are not quite right or a couple of people are a bit pissy or something. You can just pick things up from that sporting background, right?
Yeah, on and off the field, right? So, we try and use that off-field barbecues and Christmas parties and Easter parties and things like that to really gel the boys who work together every day.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So you finished school, so that's cool. And then what was the next path, did you say?
So I finished, I got an apprenticeship in building. I was working for a small builder. He was fantastic. He's still one of my mentors. And we're very close still. And he was just an old school builder that went through recessions and wanted to bricklay, wanted to tile, so joinery. So I learnt everything, not well.
Yep.
not I wasn't the best carpenter, I wasn't the best bricklayer, I wasn't the best joiner, but I learned a range of things, and that's probably what has helped me become a really good builder.
Cool, yeah, because especially in today's day and age, right, people are so specialised where your
Yeah.
average young builder coming through, they're not sort of across everything as well,
No.
right, as you maybe were?
I think it's the mindset of the young kids these days that they want to, when they want to be a carpenter and they just want to work for a subcontractor that puts up walls and which is great. I used to love carpentry, don't get me wrong, but if you get your hands dirty by digging foundations and things like that, you really get a good sense of what the building industry is about.
Yeah, and what was so take yourself back,
Yeah.
and that sort of first day you're like walking on with your like brand new boots or whatever, right, all shiny,
Yeah.
walk onto the building site. What was that like?
Funny enough, I've got a terrible memory, but I remember my first day. It was at my boss's house, and I had to hand nail clouts into cement sheet, and it was just wow, like this is what I'm doing now. But there would have been days and days where I would have loved to have quit. It's a hard yakka 4 years sticking with something, but I'm someone that commits to it and sticks it out.
So did you stay the whole 4 years with the same builder?
Yeah.
And so that's awesome how you did that. And how many guys, were there like a bunch of old guys working around you?
Yeah, there
or?
wasn't a lot. There was probably like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
It wasn't ever too big. I think Jeff, his name is. I think Jeff did have a big crew before I joined, but he scaled back.
Right. And how did they treat you as a new apprentice on site back then?
It was a very lad kind of environment. There was social clubs and they drank every night. I had to make sure the fridge was stocked up. Things like that. Definitely has changed a lot in that aspect, and I've had to kind of change our ways today in how we not treat apprentices, but how we can get the best out of apprentices. Because when I say they, but society, the younger generation is different to what I had it, and then my generation is different to what our fathers had it. So I've had to listen to our apprentices and work out what that best way is, and I can go into that later as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's super important as well. And it's kind of just interesting to see, what the vibe was back then, eh? And so then after you finished up and you got your ticket, how long did it take you before you sort of left that boss, or did you sort of stay on?
I probably stayed with him for 6 months and then I was out. Yeah, I had a few little decks and pergolas and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's where the story kind of kicks off. And Sean, my business partner, he had just finished his apprenticeship. We had been to school together. We actually were in mother's group together. Our mums knew each other, so we're in the same kind of suburban school and things like that. We weren't super close at school, but we both finished our apprenticeships at the same time. He was working for a subcontractor, so he's a gun carpenter. So we were able to get a lot of work with the likes of Metricon, Simmons, Porter Davis, those volume builders, and it was great. 2 of us in our 20s, you just get to work, you work hard, you're hardly quoting, you get purchase orders, you go and play golf on a Friday afternoon. Like, we loved it. We were just, and I learnt more out of my time in carpentry than I did in my time.
Right. Very interesting. Okay, so it was a lot of those sort of, volume builder homes are sort of just like speed, right?
Yeah, speed.
Get it up.
Yeah.
Onto the next one next, And so I guess partnerships are very interesting. So Sean's your business partner. It doesn't always work. It does help to have sort of complementary skill sets, right? Back then, were you guys just sort of two chippies? You just happened to work next to each other and you call yourself business partners, or was there like a way that it worked well for you guys?
We're total opposites, and that's why it worked. Like, my last name's Cheesman, but chalk and cheese, like literally. Sean, hardly didn't even own a computer. Whereas I loved the computers, I loved the emails and things like that. I loved meeting clients. I'm really personable, so that was me. I was running off, and I think our challenges early were more like Sean felt like it was all on his shoulders at the building site, So we managed to communicate and talk about it and work out we needed an apprentice and to help him on site when I had to duck off. So yeah, they were the challenges early days.
Yeah, just sort of those sort of growing pains, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard because you have like the practical, because I've been before in that sort of scenario where you have the builder, the practical builder, don't always like see the value of the office work. They kind of see it as maybe like lazy work or like you're not really working,
Definitely,
you're just sitting on your computer. And then, and then maybe the guy in the office don't always see the value of the guy freaking working his ass off and sweating on site all day in the conditions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, so it's definitely something to work through. What are your POV now on partnerships? If someone comes to you and say, I'm thinking of going into a partnership with this person, should I do it? Should I not do it? Like, what's your...
I think it's the quickest way to grow. Like, we were both salary sacrificing. So we didn't pay ourselves a lot for the first 10 years of business. We paid ourselves enough to get through our life, and banking that money has meant that we've got a really strong foundation, and that's pivotal when you're getting into massive builds. You really need cash flow. So that's one positive being with a business partner is if you're both on you've got the same goal. And you can really, and I suppose for me, I look at our bank account, I don't see it as my money. So I think that was the best bit is we weren't splurging.
Yeah. It's almost like the ultimate way of separate, because young builders coming through, sometimes they don't recognise that the business and them are two separate entities.
Yes.
Like they work for the business. It's probably easier to get to that point
Correct.
when you're a partnership, because you're like from day one, you are separate from the business. You work for the business.
It's really important.
Yeah.
And we work for the Melbourne Builder. And
Yeah.
the Melbourne Builder isn't me. It isn't, Sean. It isn't anyone else in our company. We all work for it, and we were all out there to represent it. Same as a football club.
Yeah. Very good. So, okay. So then you're building for Metricon. You're doing a lot of those sort of volume builder type style homes. How did you guys then transition to start building your own, getting your own clients?
I think in my learnings of business is I find every 3 years we face challenges, but those challenges have turned into milestones. So after 3 years, I think we worked out that we can't sustain this, and it was time to try and get our builder's license and try and do things, bigger builds and under our name, because we were doing a bit of owner-builder renovations, which is where the owner takes out the permit.
Yeah.
3, and then the 3 year mark was around getting our license and establishing ourselves, and that's where we were able to change our branding and really create the Melbourne Builder, and yeah.
And how important was that to how you? Because I know, like we've built, like how you see yourself as a builder is extremely important, right? You see you see yourself just as a guy swinging a hammer. That's how you're going to present yourself. That's how the client's going to see you. You see yourself as a professional, a consultant, and someone that's going to provide a professional service for the client and help the client through their process. Then the client's going to see you as such. So, how important was it for you guys to get your branding right and look the part?
I think we had to change the stereotype of that, old school tradie, the pie and ciggy at Smoko and things like that. That was 20 years ago. I saw a niche of being a bit more slick and smashing that stereotype. We started with uniform. We sharpened up with uniform. The branding obviously was the first thing. We were lucky enough to go to an agency and invest money. Like I was saying before, it was probably at about the 3 year mark where we had enough money that we could go and spend some money on branding, and we did it properly. So looking back, that was a really great decision that we made to roll out uniforms. Even things like vehicles, Sean and I didn't want to go and get the Hilux or the Ford Ranger. We went and got, cheap Land Rovers, which, was a hard work. It suited our brand. We made sure we all wore black pants and black shorts, so we canned the khaki shorts. We probably were the first to jump on social media and showcase, because building is very picturesque and aspirational. So I think we just wanted to be different, and I wanted to be in that top 10% of builders in Melbourne. If that was my goal, to be the top 10 builder in Melbourne, and that was about changing our image and having people, white collar people is mainly who we work for. They're looking at us, and if not white collar people, it's normally the mum in her 40s is probably our target audience. So we had to really appeal for that demographic.
Yeah. Because that's, and how did you guys find that when you went through that process? Did you find that builders, did you guys get like a bit of shit from other builders and stuff? The fact that you guys sort of going about that way, posting on social media, or not really? Was it just sort of like...
Not really. No, not really. I probably do now. Who knows? Like, that's where we're probably doing things different now, where I'm a bit more on camera and being the face of, I'm just taking credit for all the hard work the boys are doing. But it's a bit of a laugh where I turn up when at the last day with the camera. But I think it's just around, my role for the Melbourne Builder is to showcase what we've been doing and putting a face to it and being personable.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk a little bit about your company, because builders are interested in this, how it's set up. So give me a bit of an idea around how big is, like, how many team members do you guys have, and office versus on-site, qualified versus unqualified. Just sort of paint a bit of a picture of the Melbourne
We're probably
Builder.
lean in the office. We tend to do with our management team in the office. We've got a joinery company, we've got a building company, and in that building company we do renovations, and we also do activations events in Melbourne, which is quite big in Melbourne with Grand Prix and Spring Carnival and Australian Open and all those things. So in our team, like, our management would be probably 5 management in the office, and we tend to do our own admin, and then we have I have 2 accounts people kind of helping me in that sense, and then in the joinery side we've got a couple of drafties that are drawing for our CNC machine.
Right.
And then the rest are carpenters and joiners and things like that.
Yeah. So how many carpenters and guys do you have on site? And do you guys subcontract that out, or does your own?
Yeah, a bit of both. The events is quite heavy subcontracting because of it's seasonal.
Yeah.
When it comes to renovations, we tend to have more on wages and things like that. But on average, I think with the joinery, let's say we've got 20 in the building and events team and 10 in the joinery.
Okay. Let's talk about the events team quickly, because it's a super curveball.
Yeah.
Because before I forget,
Yeah.
because sometimes I say I'm going to come back to it. I have so many episodes, and I'm going to come back to that, and I never do because I forget. What are the events, and why events?
I had a bit of a joinery background. My wife works in PR, which people are thinking probably what's PR, but public relations, and she was kind of involved in that media, eventy kind of industry. There was a couple of ads came up around tendering for a job in Spring Carnival. I jumped at it, and that was 2015. And that's when the events kicked off, and I realised that we needed a panel saw, an edge bander, and I saw that I could diverse, like when we weren't as big as what we were, and we were able to do wardrobes and a couple of kitchens and things like that. So I just saw it a really good avenue of doing different things. So that's how the events came up. Yeah, and it's pretty much a shop fit out company, you could nearly say. But with that carpentry experience and problem solving and building that kind of tacks onto it.
So give me an example of who you'd work for in those events.
So they're agencies that are creating spaces for the brands.
Okay.
So the agencies are coming up with an activation as such. For example, the Grand Prix, we do the Ferrari marquee, which is the event company gets a structure, which is space cubes in this case, and then they contract us to come and fit out from an external point and an internal point. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. So what percentage of your business would be events versus?
It changes every year. Obviously, like COVID shut down all the events, so we had to pivot heavily on building. Right now, it's probably 40%.
Okay,
30 to
so it's a
40%.
decent-
Yeah, it's a
decent amount.
decent chunk, and it comes around every year pretty quickly, to be honest. You know, we're already starting to talk Grand Prix, which is in March. So and obviously we build a floating bar on the Yarra River in Melbourne, which is pretty iconic, called the Arbria Float, and that's epic. It's, you know, that's challenged us completely. Like, we're not. It's all about using less weight rather than more weight because we're floating. So we've been doing that 10 years next year. And
Cool.
so that's nearly built. That's built probably August, September. Then we roll into Spring Carnival, which is October, November, which we've just finished now. And then Australian Open comes in Jan, and then Grand Prix comes in March. So it kind of rolls around with a couple of months breaks in between.
Yeah. So I assume a lot of the work that comes from that is just through networking, hand-to-hand combat kind of sales, like coming through that, or do you have to tender for jobs?
I would say not networking anymore. I think we're lucky enough. We've got such a great event team, building team, full of knowledge. They're unbelievable.
Because it's a specialty, right?
It is a specialty, yeah. And Neil, our general manager, he's got a lot of experience in that space. And I would say that, you know, companies want to work for us, want us to do their builds because of our quality, our speed, and we're cost effective. So, I think we're doing really well in that space.
And in terms of that's very cool. It's kind of like a little bit different. Because you kind of have to think outside the box, especially when the market shifts for a lot of people.
The good thing is that these deadlines don't change. And that's the cool thing about it. Not cool, but, you know, Derby Day is on the Saturday of Melbourne Cup Carnival, and that doesn't change. So no one can push that date out, which makes it really challenging for us as builders. But also what it does do is it puts pressure on the, in building terms, the architect or the designer that has to make a decision on the spot.
Yeah.
Not take it back to their office and think about it and come back to you in 3 days' time. It's like, we need to know now. So that's the cool thing about it, is there's, you know, we're hell for leather, we're going for it.
And it's happening.
Yeah.
The client, they can't change their mind and say, oh, well, we're going to push this project out because we're going on a European holiday or anything like that. It's happening.
And that we've been able to take that back to the residential side.
Right. Talk to me about that.
Residential side, it's a different sector. Obviously, it's fun. You get to meet great people, great clients. I think building family homes is my passion. I love seeing space and floor plans and things like that. And
And what's like who's like your average client that you guys work for, and what type of projects are you guys working on?
Well, that changes year on year as you grow, I suppose. Obviously, you get into different suburbs and the blue chip suburbs and things like that. But our average client is the mum and dad with a few kids that are, you know, heading to teenage years and they're looking for more space. You know, that's a target, but, you know, it's a range of people. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so how do you guys get most of your projects? Has it just all been through referrals?
Again, we're lucky we're diversified, so I'm not hitting up architects tendering everything I can. We try and take on, say, 3 projects a year in the residential side. And I say I'm lucky in the sense that we're so diversified that we can just stick to... I find it really hard to manage more than 3 renovations. Like, there's so much detail. There's so much emotion. Budget is, you've got to be across budgets. So, hats off to the builders out there that are doing, multiple projects. I really take my hat off, and it's a really hard gig.
Yeah. And so you work mostly for architects in that space? So architects come to you.
Yep.
And do you still have to kind of tender for it, or is it more just negotiated?
Yeah, definitely tender for it. Like, I do push clients to tender, even if they come to me direct and say, we want you to do the build, only you. Can you be engaged? I try and push them down the tendering phase, because I think that it's good for them to see that where we sit with price. Otherwise, if we're the only person pricing their job, they just never know if is he too expensive or is he, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like, it's more of a mindset for the client. Some of our best jobs are ones that we've gone in and tendered against 3 or 4 builders, won the job with our margin, we haven't changed our margin. We've won it with enough money that we can go and execute the job properly.
Yeah.
So I think that's the best way to build is making sure we've got tendering, win the project and build it.
Yeah. And with your tendering, because obviously you must have a lot of confidence. And I think you probably have like you can only do 3 projects a year, right? So you probably choose your projects wisely.
Yeah.
And you interview your clients as much as they're interviewing you,
Yes.
I'd imagine.
Yes, definitely.
When you're tendering, what's your sort of special sauce in terms of how you present your tenders? What's in there outside of just the cost breakdown? How do you sort of demonstrate value, differentiate yourself from the competition?
Yeah, so about 7 years ago, I found a guy that that specialises in estimating. So I jumped onto this estimator pretty quickly. He's a subcontractor, and I paid the fee. The fee seems a lot, but I saw how much value and how much time it took off my hands. And not only that, is when you do a tender, you're constantly looking at every single dollar, thinking, second guessing yourself. Am I too expensive here? Am I too cheap here? So having that sounding board from the estimator that does it every day really helped us change our business. So he provided me an estimate. I remember the first one he did for me back in, I'm going to say 2018, and it was 5 pages long. It was broken down to every single dollar, and I said to him, "Do any of your builders give?" Because he tenders for other builders. Do any of these builders give the client this information? He said, "Oh no, it's all summarised and compacted into one document," and I just saw the value of giving the clients this 5-page document with our margin, with our prelims, and just everything. There's no hidden costs here.
Yeah.
And as soon as we went down that model, it changed our business completely, and we started winning so many jobs because we're a business. We need to make a margin.
Yeah.
We've got prelims. That's a business. So I think it was just that really did change our business when we showed more.
Yeah, that's interesting, because what it does is builds trust, you know,
It did, yeah.
and transparency. And so do you guys do fixed price or cost plus or?
We do both, yeah. I'm not too fast. Look, cost plus is easy to go and start the job tomorrow and not have to do the paperwork beforehand. But at the same time, fixed price, it's good to work through quotes before you start and hold trades accountable.
Yeah.
There's fors and againsts on both ways on that.
Yeah, are you sort of? Yeah, you probably you keep your eye a lot more on the detail when it comes to the fixed price, right? So you're kind of working a little bit more precise.
Obviously, if there's projects that you can't price, then
for sure.
Clearly cost plus is the way to go.
Yeah.
And builders are nervous at the moment with different costs going up and things like that. But I think fixed price is still the way to go and gets the best out of everyone on site.
You talked about team. We talked about the footy example. You know what I mean? How do you sort of attract good team members? How do you cultivate good culture? People management as probably one of the hardest parts of business.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you keep everyone motivated and keen and happy?
That's a good question. Again, going back to being different, early on we saw that flexibility. Probably I was a year before COVID. I saw flexibility had to change in the building industry. That hard 7 o'clock, have to be there at 7. And finishing on, and lunch break was the same time every day. I know as an apprentice, I got bored. It was just too repetitive. I get that you can't change that on site too much because it is good to have structure on site. But from a management sense, I saw that my management team had kids, had a family, so I saw that they can come in at 6 a.m., smash out 2 hours of work, and then go and take their kids to school if they live close, obviously. But I don't micromanage my staff, my management team, and I think that gets the best out of them. I think if you're enjoying what you do, same as the football, if you're enjoying playing football, you'll get the best out of them. So that was a big thing for us, is being really flexible. And further to that, like we went down the health and fitness space. I think that it's good to be healthy. And I like to be healthy, and I think I work best when I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
So we put in a sauna at our office.
Cool. That's
which was
awesome.
cool. Yeah, an infrared sauna. And so you can take your computer in there, you can take your phone, whatever. And then further to that, we built this little wellness room out the back, and we've got an ice bath in there now. And we've got a gym and things like that. So it does get used quite a lot from a management team. And ice baths are really cool. And they're it's like having a long black at lunchtime.
Yeah.
And it might sound strange to people out there, but again, this is the way I just think differently. But I know that you run downstairs 5 minutes, you're in and out of this ice bath, and you're back up, and you are just on, and you smash through so much work. It's not funny. So it's a massive hit of just adrenaline and endorphins, and so that's a few things about keeping our staff is around being flexible, making sure they get those elements of being healthy at work.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been having the old cold shower, like getting into the habit of doing cold showers in the mornings. And we have like tank water and that, so the water it gets kind of cold. It's not like an ice bath, but it gets fairly cold, especially in winter.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
in Auckland. So I do know what you mean. Like when you come, you get all like giddy and weird when you get out of the cold water.
Yeah.
You start like yelling and doing weird stuff. When you're like woo. So it is.
Well, imagine being in the office.
Yeah. So
But I think like what I was saying is that's productivity.
Yeah.
But then we are in such a high stress industry. We are getting hounded by clients, architects, trades. We're babysitters to tradesmen sometimes. So having that outlet of being able to go and have an ice bath or a sauna might sound a bit weird, but it definitely, just calms you down. And I've been known to jump in the ice bath at, 4:30, 5 o'clock before I'm going home to my family, just to take the edge off and be a father.
yeah, if it's nothing else, it's almost like a reset.
Yeah.
Like you could have so much stuff going on and thoughts and this and that and stress and that. You cannot be thinking about anything else apart from being in that ice bath when you're in there, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
so it just resets you.
4 minutes of hell.
yeah. It's like turning yourself off and back on again, like
Yeah.
a computer, right? And you just sort of restart.
It is. Yeah.
Because obviously you want to get out of there as soon as you get in there, but it does reset you. So that's really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so health and fitness is really good. I mean, obviously that's going to pass on to productivity and that sort of thing. And do you guys do a lot of like social events and things like that?
Yeah, so we do our Christmas party, which everyone does. And I like to reward my team because of the events have gone through Spring Carnival and such a big event time. And then the renovation game, normally we're trying to hand projects over this time of year, even though we try and avoid that. But so we try and do a Christmas. But the biggest one I found the best date that we've been able to do, and it's become a family thing, bring your kids and wives and partners and, whoever you want to bring, is Easter. We, obviously Good Friday, we do the barbecue on the Wednesday night because a lot of people want to go away on the Thursday. So we shut down on the Thursday and we have the barbecue on the Wednesday night, which is we get a jumping castle, pizza oven, some beer on tap, some cocktails, a live band. And it's a little investment at our warehouse that is quite fun to see, the kids running around and things like that.
Yeah. And even that, like Happy Wives, right, is very important. I remember talking about sport, my cousin played rugby, professional rugby, played for Saracens in the UK and played for the Springboks and stuff. But I remember what they did at Saracens is they had that whole philosophy of you got to keep the wives happy. So what they would do is they created like a daycare at the club.
That's awesome.
And so the dads, all the rugby players would come and bring their kids, so that they were like, it's all right, I'll take the kids to daycare because they all have young kids, right? So the dads would turn up with the kids. They're getting looked after all day. It's all covered. And then I remember they used to like send the wives on shopping sprees, and they used to do all sorts of stuff just to keep the wives happy. And then when the contract negotiation time came, the wives didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
And so they just stayed,
right.
you know? So it was like a great way to keep the wives happy. Then the husbands will stay.
That's a great idea.
So,
Well, look, that idea's gone past my head, to be honest. But I think just from a legal point, probably, I don't know what insurances are for childcare centres, but I've got enough insurances that I've got to worry about in the building industry.
Yeah. But I think Saracen's got like deregulated for not following the salary cap and all sorts. So maybe they'll get in trouble for that as well. A little side note there. But okay, cool. So in your business, in terms of I just want to touch a little bit on the marketing side as well, because people are interested in, because you guys do a great job with your socials and that. And how much do you guys spend on marketing? How much should people, you reckon, be spending on marketing?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think I got stuck into spending too much a few years ago when you trying to get high res videos and videographers and things like that, and you know, their time costs money, and trying to work out when you get them to come into builds at what time, and that steel beam is going up at a time when you don't know when it's. So it was really hard to juggle how to capture those moments, but obviously technology with phones and things like that. Like as an apprentice, I wasn't allowed to touch my phone. Now I'm encouraging my apprentices to take videos and photos.
Yeah.
We've got a little hub that we all send our photos and videos into. And we don't pay for any videography to come to site. So it's all captured by a team. But not only that, we've got an agency that runs our social media.
Cool.
They're on a monthly retainer, and they pop out to site every now and get footage of the guys doing whatever, and then they make the reels, you know, the videos and jam everything together from before and afters or what's happening on site. So yeah, that's how we run our social media, and it's really cost effective. So what I'm trying to say is paying an agency to put it all together for you was the cheapest way, rather than trying to produce the content on a hi-fi. Res,
And do you guys then, do you get video done of your completed projects, or just photography?
Yeah, we do on shoot day.
Yeah.
We'll invest a little bit of money if we think so to get a few videos made up professionally. Yes.
How much do you guys currently spend on your marketing?
I think per year I probably would budget, let's say $50,000, and that covers shooting, videoing the finished product of 3 builds, let's say. So there's already 15 or 20,000 by the time you get that done, and probably the rest is on a company trying to run that page. Yeah. Do you get your money back? Who knows? You know, that's advertising and marketing, right? You don't know where it comes, but you know, I think that our Instagram page is great credit for us. You know, when we can showcase our work to the world.
Yeah, I think it's all like touch points, hey? It's just like, it's not one thing or the other. It's not like, hey, how many people DM'd, how many $3 million projects did you get from DMs, you know?
Yeah.
It's more just like, it's a touch point here, it's a touch point there. Someone refer you, then they check your socials, and then, you know, it's just all part of it.
I think, to be honest, is keeping your page going and showing everyone out there what you're doing, even to your best mate, to your family. You're just on the tip of their tongue all the time.
Yeah.
And to create those organic conversations around your friendship groups, around broader groups, is really, and that doesn't have to lead to any work. But I noticed that if on times where we have stopped our social media for 6 months, or we're not as uploading as much, I find that the aura around the Melbourne Builder kind of drops off a little bit. So yeah, definitely that's where I see the value in social media.
Yeah, it's definitely like front of mind. I know even with this podcast, if we obviously put clips up on, say, Instagram and TikTok or whatever, and some weeks if we're a bit lazy or, you know, we don't post as much as other weeks, we actually see the listenership drop.
Yeah, right.
You can actually see it every week. So then less people will listen to this podcast on Spotify or YouTube. Or watch it on YouTube.
Just got to be front of mind.
Yeah, you just got to be front of mind and remind them, you know, constantly of that.
And we also find even days are really, like Sundays are big for us. You know, we've got a good engagement on Sunday nights.
Yeah, for sure.
When our audience has put the kids to bed and they're just chilling out on the couch. So yeah, there's strategies around timing as well.
Yeah, for sure. And you can look at that on Instagram on your app as well, on the insights, just which time is better than others, and people can look at that. So that's really good as well. Let's talk a little bit about your the joinery business.
Yeah.
Right? Because talk to me why you guys decided to get into the joinery side, what impact that has had on the Melbourne Builder. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I look at it now and think, how could a builder not have a joinery company? Because we're so lucky to have it all in-house. We started the joinery company in about 2017. It's when we bought our CNC machine, and robots are amazing. That's all I've got to say about that. Like anything robot, your excavators, your diggers, your trucks, your manitors, anything that helps. So the CNC is amazing. So we bought that in 2017, and Sean, as I touched on before, my business partner was a carpenter. He kind of had worked up to be like a project manager on our builds. Tragically, he lost his fiance in 2017, and he had left behind a 9-month-old son. So Sean, it was pretty hard for him. So obviously he dropped back on days. He was only working part-time until we knew what was going to happen or how he was going to bounce out of it. We bought the CNC like pretty much as it all was happening, and Sean thought it was best just to him to jump in the factory because he didn't know what days he was working and things like that. As I said at the start of the podcast, he wasn't great on computers, things like that. And he just channeled his energy into, he had a lot going on, and he just channeled his energy into learning this machine. That was 2017, 18. And so now Sean heads up the joinery, which is just organically, it's just happened so well where, I oversee the building side and Sean oversees the joinery side. And that's just growing and growing and growing and growing at the moment. And we're doing lots of work for other builders, which is great. It's not a competition. I thought it would be a little bit weird that a builder's doing another builder's joinery. But, we get it. We know how much pressure the builder's under and things like that. So I suppose we talk the same language. So that's going great now. Sean's really got that humming, and we've grown into another factory. And we're probably looking to potentially, invest in some more machinery in the next coming years on that side of the business.
Yeah, that's it was amazing that Sean was able to channel his energy into that. And I was just about to ask as well, because, we all have a bit of shiny object syndrome, right? Especially builders do as well. Like, I'll just start my own scaffolding company and start my own earth moving company. You know what I mean? It's just natural for them to want to, But then what we forget sometimes is that every time you start something new, it comes with all the challenges that problems you need to solve, So then it's not always good to do a bunch of stuff. So
which is where probably it helps having, when you said about before, a partnership. I feel that's the positive with a partnership, that you can start off and then you can pivot, and one can go and do, in our case, joinery. Yeah. And now, he's the right, like, we're never splitting up. No, he's not coming in wanting a pay rise. Like, so we've got to, the Melbourne Builder and the Melbourne Joiner are locks.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's good, because I was just about to say, if you had to focus on, or even both, if you had to focus on both, you'd get so distracted, and it'll be very difficult to solve those problems along the way. Okay, so that makes sense. So you definitely recommend, if someone was thinking about joinery side, that.
Oh, definitely.
And in what aspect does that help you guys? With timing and efficiency and that sort of thing.
Look, I love the building triangle, and I don't know if you're aware of it, but cost, quality, and speed, and you can't have all three of them.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's what the joinery for us, we're building have renovation, that the joinery, we're able to have control over quality, we're able to have control over speed, and we're able to have control over budget. So that's the key for us with joinery, and that speeds our build process along a lot quicker. So that, and having that control is just, and it's a big percentage of the budget on the build as well. Like $1 million renovation, it's somewhere between 10 to 15%. So 100 to 150 grand of joinery, and I only see that getting more and more and more as the years go on. So it's a massive chunk. That and structure or steel, and what else would probably be a massive chunk in building. Probably got me on the spot here, but it's a big chunk. It's a big chunk, and it's a carpenter joiner, right? Like it comes hand in hand. So,
and especially with those detail, like all this real details.
And you can train yourself. Like Sean wasn't a joiner.
Yeah. And obviously with the new machinery and everything like that, it's not like the old school type of joiners. You almost have to understand computers to do it. Right, which is funny.
Sean's taught himself CAD. And hats off to him. I don't even know how to turn the machine on, but we stick to our lanes. And
that's a good thing. Yeah,
it's pretty amazing.
So
machines.
100%. So you, when it comes to like your building business, because that's what you look after, what are the numbers that you look at that kind of tells you that things are on track? Like, what do you sort of keep an eye on? Whether it's weekly, monthly, quarterly.
I think speed. I think that if projects start to blow out in terms of time, that you're going to start losing money, because I think the biggest thing that you can lose on is labour at the moment. Labour's expensive. Time is money. So I think just when the job isn't moving fast enough, that's when you can come unstuck. We try and limit that we have a healthy bank account, so we're buying materials as soon as we can. We're locking everything in. We're not waiting to the last day to buy things. So that's how we keep speed going along, and probably trying to get trades to stick to the quoted price and hold them accountable.
Yeah. What's the, you guys have been a successful business, and you guys have done really well, but building is complicated and not everything goes to plan, right? So give me an idea of, what's the sort of biggest challenge you guys went through as a company, or biggest financial hit maybe that you guys took over the years? People are always interested to know, because people take hits out there and they think they're the only one.
We're conservative. We haven't, this is 14 years, right? Like we weren't trying to go big straight away. So everything was always in our control. I always say that you're holding the handbrake, and you don't want to, if you let it go fully, then I feel like things can get out of hand and you don't have the right leadership and management in place. We've held that handbrake as hard as we could whilst we've grown. We've got the right management in place, which has helped. But our biggest challenge probably would have been, like everyone's, is going into COVID, probably, where no one knew what the world was going to do. I had people ringing me cancelling contracts. You had staff really worried about their job and their next wage. So that was challenging, because that wasn't in control. I pivoted there to try and quote really small jobs. I just wanted to quote a lot. And they came off, littler jobs. In Melbourne, we were only allowed 5 on site, so that worked to our advantage. But as I said before, every 3 years I find has been a different challenge. And I think once you get to, say, 9 years, you're real. Your business is real. You've got to employ bigger people. You're getting bigger projects. You're probably spreading yourself more thinner. You're having to rely on, admin or different people to run your job sites, and it's very hard to let go. So that was a bit of a challenge for me, letting go, and working out how people could help me. I'm really good at now is
like delegating.
Delegating, and really trying to take myself out of not being across everything. But then probably the biggest challenge I would say in the last few years is, because we have gone to the next level in renovations in Melbourne, in blue chip suburbs, is getting the right management on site. And that isn't the carpenter that could be the leader. It's about getting the leader, getting the manager that from the top, and getting an already made manager.
Right.
That was the biggest challenge, and I probably didn't change that quick enough.
So what, did you hire from outside or did
No,
or
just
from within?
organically. Again, you have great carpenters that are fantastic at what they do, and you're probably putting too much pressure on them to run jobs. And then without being there every day, the management of trades and the carpentry list to do on site is a big, big job for one person.
Yeah.
So I think probably identifying that now is one thing where we've been able to make our business really strong now, is that we've got managers to manage trades and carpenters to do the carpentry.
Yeah. And you said that you have a general manager as well, right?
Yep.
When did you hire a general manager?
He came to us in 2018, and I call the Melbourne Builder a land of opportunity. I think that we go to people's strengths. So you come in for 6 months, we work out what you're good at, and you go to that job. Like Mick, my CA, he started on the tools, and we worked out that he's like me. We're better on the computer, and all of a sudden he's in the office full time. So Neil organically became our GM, and he's amazing, and we all help each other. Because there's times where family comes first, and we're really lucky.
Yeah. Well, I think you've done a good job as well, kind of bringing it all together. Family, you mentioned it.
Yeah.
How do you navigate business and family? How many kids have you got?
3.
What are boys or girls?
I got 2 boys, 7 and 5, and a daughter who's 2.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool
so I'm
ages.
cool ages. Good.
How do you navigate that? Building a company that that needs a lot of attention.
Yeah.
A company's it's like another child, right? And then you got your actual real children and your wife. What sort of practical things have you implemented over the years, or what's worked to kind of like navigate that sort of dance?
I was lucky for the first 7 years I didn't have kids, so we started the business really young. So that meant that I could just work whenever, work at night, work in the morning. And I didn't understand when you have kids how that changes. So once I had kids, it was really hard to adjust and work out that I wasn't as free as I could. So I think you work out when you get up at 6 a.m. or 5:30 and get out the door, and I might go and sit at a local cafe for an hour or two. And I call it the hour of power, because you just get through so much admin, and then you can come back home and take the kids to the school to school and things like that if you don't need to be on site. But I find that over the years that I've made this little rule up for myself, but the 30-30-30 rule, where I've got work 30%, health and fitness 30%. So making sure you're healthy. And work, health and family, and you say that adds up to 90%. Well, the other 10% is where it's needed most at the time.
Right.
Because sometimes you got to take work is priority, sometimes family is priority. So, but if you go over that 40%, you're gone. Because if your health falls away, you're no good to anyone. If you're not present at home, then you're missing out on the best part of your life, family. And work, if you get too consumed into work, you just, nothing. Do you hear what I'm saying? You've really got to make sure you have that balance in life. And my wife's just started her business. Well, she's 4 years into a business, but I've really tried to help her with that balance. It's so hard in your first few years to sit there and go, oh yeah, I'll prioritize 30% on my health and 30. I was prioritizing 90% on my work.
Yeah.
So I think once you're established, really sticking to that rule is key to being successful, because healthy is wealthy.
Yeah, 100%. And do you ever, like I said before, like not everything goes to plan. A lot of builders I've talked to, they can find themselves in some pretty dark places, especially through COVID, people losing money. staff they got to keep paying. Do you ever find, in the last 14 years or whatever, that's probably 14 years, right?
Yeah.
You guys been going for. Have you ever sort of like not, has there been times where you've sort of fallen apart a little bit, not kept it together, and how did you sort of
I call it
navigate
work
that?
depression. I think it's pretty standard. Everyone goes through their moments at work where you're just done. You don't want to be there. As a business owner, I found that the mini holidays, the mini breaks were, it might cost you a few $1,000s for a holiday, but it made me double because I came back fresher. I came back enthused, with full of ideas, creativity. So I saw investing in holidays made me money. And that's why, luckily, we haven't gone through financial pressures, but obviously if you're chasing that next job and you don't know where it is, it becomes really stressful. I found early days when we didn't have work, that was when I was most stressed. But what I tried to do is channel my energy into the branding, the social media, really pushing towards the stuff that you push aside when you're busy. So just chilling out, go and play golf. Don't stress about it. Just something will come. Go and make phone calls to the right people that gets the tongues wagging, and all of a sudden an architect rings you and says, "Oh, I've just heard you're looking for work." So I think just staying calm in those situations and not stressing yourself out is key. Yeah.
Yeah, and so to talk about the holidays, when you say mini holidays, you mean try to duck away for a few days every quarter or a week or something? What do you mean?
It's harder with kids now because trying to 3 kids on an airplane,
it's not a holiday.
To go on a holiday. But yeah, when we had 1 kid, it was just great to jump on a plane, go up north to some sun in Queensland, and just 5 days. Your emails didn't get too jammed. You go on a Thursday or something like that. But yeah, you really need it. And right now I probably operate with kids at school. I try and break my year into quarters, like their terms. You go pretty hard, and once it hits school holidays, I really try and take a step away and try and spend some time with the kids. And then I'm ready to go again for the next term. So I think it's just making little milestones, because you just can't go flat out 24/7. No one can.
Yeah, you just kind of burn out, eh? And I think it was like Sabri Subi or something like that, marketer or someone that said that they also do the 90-day. They just take 1 week off minimum and try to do more even. But every 90 days, because then it's very different when you come back and you go, this is what I'm up to in the next 90 days. Feels a lot more doable than going, I have to do this forever or for the whole year now, know? So that's definitely super important as well. We've pretty much almost gone to the end of our time. I feel like we could really talk for a long time because there's so many aspects with the joinery and your business as well. But
it's a challenging market at the moment, I think, in where we're at the moment in Melbourne. We've got house prices that haven't really moved too much in the last year or two, and building prices have. Building prices have gone up 30-40%, and that that gap's getting bigger, which I'm really nervous about. Just having homeowners, do they invest in a renovation? Will they get that money back? The days if you spent $1 million on your house, you're probably going to get 1.5 back. But now you're spending $1 million on your house, and there's not a guarantee that you'll get it back. So that gap needs to close, and hopefully the property market goes up a bit in Melbourne next year with interest rates and things like that, and hopefully our building price is stabilised, sorry.
And how have you guys found the market? Have you been massively affected or not as much?
I haven't been massively affected because we only take on our 2 or 3 projects a year, but definitely the emails are slowed up from other architects about tendering. I haven't really been asked to tender any projects, not that we have the capacity to, but I've found that our office, a lot of suppliers are coming in. A lot more suppliers are coming in to sell their product. I'm getting more emails from trades. So there is a little bit of a slowdown that's happening. That's pretty organic, I think, at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely. I know in a lot of other states and even New Zealand, obviously, has come to a halt almost. But it seems like Queensland's still going well at the moment.
Yeah, Queensland. That's a different beast too. But I don't want to spread myself too thin up there. Like it's hard enough doing my 3 builds.
Yeah,
in
I know,
Melbourne.
yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. Cool, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and having a chat. You know, like I said, I've been watching you guys from a distance for a while, so it's kind of cool to kind of hear the backstory and how you guys sort of got to this point. I've got a few rapid fire questions, if you wouldn't mind. I'll just throw that out.
Yep.
And you can just you can answer them, or you can say pass, or you can lie if you want to lie. You can lie.
I'll try and lie. No, I don't lie.
Cool. So remind me, how big is your team, Dale?
20 to 30.
What's your crew mix with qualified versus unqualified on site?
I would have 5 apprentices.
Cool.
Yep.
And you guys like having
Maybe
apprentices coming through all the time?
Yeah, we've found that the apprentices have started coming back. For a few years, we didn't have any.
Right.
And what I said to you at the start of the podcast is around talking to the apprentices. And I found that they don't really want to do the crap work. You know, we were like, as an apprentice, I was a labourer. Let's face it. You know, I was digging, I was rubbish on the broom. They don't want to do that anymore. So we've actually hired labourers, which has changed the attitude of apprentices, and we've kept them. And it's amazing that one little thing we've done different there, and just read the room as such. And I've swallowed my pride. And I can't say back in my day, it's like we've got to change here, and because this is society.
Yeah, you're competing with social media. You're competing with people making hundreds of thousands of dollars of Bitcoin and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if that's what you didn't compete with that, or your employer didn't compete with that back in the day. You were just like, mate, give me the broom. I'm happy.
I'll clean your car.
And so that's that supply demand aspect. So you got to meet them where they're at.
Yep.
Yeah. So reading the room, it's a good way of putting it. Okay. Turnover range: under 1 mil, 1 to 3, 3 to 8, 8 to 15, 15 to 20, or 20 mil plus.
8 to 15.
Cool. What's the lowest gross profit margin building company should be aiming for, do you think?
Profit margin.
The gross profit margin.
It's hard because we're diverse with all these different businesses. I think you should be, you know, on an average build, you should be trying to make 10%. You really, like, if you're not making that, you're going to struggle.
Yeah. Free quote or paid quote?
Paid.
QS or price yourself?
QS.
Project management software or spreadsheets?
Spreadsheets. I've tried. I've tried so many.
Gave it a go.
I think we're subscribed to all of them, I think.
They're
all taking my money.
Fixed price contract or cost plus?
Fixed.
Would you rather have a beer with an architect, a subby, or a council member?
A subby.
Council member never get the call up. Are you a jock or a hippie?
A jock.
Wine or whiskey?
They're both. Probably, Pinot or whiskey.
Yeah.
That's my go-to.
One then
over
the other.
beer.
Yeah. These days, building business owners are A, too impatient, B, forward thinkers, or C, hard workers.
I'm a forward thinker.
Yeah. Are you too mean or too nice to your staff, Dale?
Too nice.
Okay. They're going to watch this.
No, well, that's where we've got management and, you know, different strengths and, you know, but that's my way of managing, you know. Yeah.
True to your personality. Talking on the phone or texting?
Text.
What's your most used emoji?
Oh, I nearly ChatGPT at the moment. ChatGPT. It's amazing. No, probably Instagram.
Favorite business book or resource?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I don't really read business books. However, I did read The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and I thought that was really cool. Actually, I still haven't finished it. I'm a shocking reader.
Yeah, I'm the same.
They're probably the two books that, you know, Rich Dad, Poor Dad taught me around, you know, not you know, wanting more and more and more and more. And the Monk Who Sold His Ferrari is a really cool read on just your mindset and having deadlines. Otherwise, you'll never get anywhere.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Okay. What is one item you can't live without?
My phone.
Yeah, let's be honest. This is all of us, right? Yeah. Really. Who has inspired you the most in life or in business?
Oh, that's a great question. No one really. Like, I think I struggle with this one, and that was probably a challenge last year. I really second guessed myself. It's really hard as tradies. You know, I was a tradie, and then you work your way up, and you're running this massive business with no business qualifications, no university degrees, and it probably did get a bit on top of me.
Like what, imposter syndrome kind of thing?
Like, you know, it's you felt like you weren't good enough to be overseeing this massive business. I felt like I didn't have the qualifications. You know, I knew how to build, but it's all the rest. It's all the other stuff that you're managing people and things like that. So and trade, you know, all the rest of it. How big's what running a building business is just crazy, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that's in terms of a mentor, I didn't have one, and I was really wanting one. I wanted that builder that had done it 10 years ahead of me, but I think building's changed so much.
Yeah.
And if I wanted that mentor, that's my competitor. But there are mentors in my life that have helped me that are in finance and things like that. So I probably don't have an exact one.
So like little snippets from a bunch of people.
Yeah, I like Chris Garno, and family friends and Patch Garno. Like I take a lot from them and how they navigate through their business.
Yeah, for sure. Last question. Did you have fun?
Yes, loved it. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Nah, it's great to have a chat and just reflect on and looking back at where you've come from. And yeah, the years fly, and good luck to everyone out there, and I hope everyone's killing it.
Yeah, well, and Sean have done an amazing job, and congratulations on your success thus far. And it's, you know, you're not the end yet. You guys are still going.
No.
And but I appreciate you coming on, and I definitely feel like you know, some builders would have got a lot of value out of this episode. So thanks.
Yeah, no worries. Hit me up.